Hey guys, it's Doodlenab, or you can call me Shui, and I'm really sorry that I haven't recorded a video in a while, to say the least. I've been really busy. I just moved into my flat for uni, so haven't had much time in general lately. And I've also been struggling to come up with a topic to even talk about, because I don't want to always just be rambling about random shit, you know? But yeah, so today I think I'm going to be talking about the evolution of my character writing over time and kind of give some tips about it, because I've been making characters for quite a long time now, and they've definitely improved a lot. I'm not perfect, but like I've learned quite a lot. So yeah, I'm going to give some advice on that and just sort of talk about some of my banished old characters that I never talk about anymore because they are exiled from this world. So when I was younger, I made a lot of characters and never really developed them. They didn't really have personalities at all. I barely had any idea for the stories they were in, and when I did, they were usually rip-offs of media that I had read or watched around the time. And not even good rip-offs. Like there's one character that I can't even remember what I named him, but he was basically a rip-off of Lelouch from Code Geass, because I was really into Code Geass at the time. And I'm still really into it. It's one of my favorite shows. But that character was really, really bad. He had a distinct personality, unlike a lot of characters I had around the time, but it wasn't great. Like, he wasn't developed at all. So, don't do that. Don't base your characters off of other media completely if you don't know what you're doing. That's one thing I can say. There's one character I remember specifically being a pretty terribly written character. Actually two, and they were both with a roleplay with a friend from the same roleplay, and that was our first ever roleplay. I was like 12, so there's your standard right there. I'm very new to creating characters and taking drawing seriously in general, but yeah, so there were two characters I had from that roleplay who were terribly written, to say the least. One was called Paul, and he was your stereotypically edgy kid character. He self-harmed and was just all around the dick, and he was also incredibly overpowered, and I would constantly flip-flop on what he was doing, and he basically didn't have a personality at all. He was a really bad character, and at the time I thought he was brilliant. He was not. He was the worst. Not even a fun character to roleplay with or as. He was just bad in general. In that roleplay in general, a lot of random shit happened that didn't really matter. There wasn't really a proper plot. It was just a random clusterfuck of dramatic shit. Dramatic and edgy shit, you know? As 12-year-olds tend to do. Especially around that time, because I didn't know what I was doing at all, and it was our first roleplay, so we didn't even know what our basic summary of the plot was. Kind of just accidentally fell into roleplaying it, and then it just continued. So it was pretty bad. And another character I had there was a character called Cyril, or Cerrone. He had two names because he had a split personality, and I think it was something stupid, like he absorbed the spirit of his dead brother or something, and they shared a body, so they would switch randomly, and of course they were both edgy as shit, because all of my characters around that time were edgy as shit. A lot of my characters now are still edgy, but at least they're decently well written, I hope. They're definitely better written, at the very least, than they used to be when I first started creating characters, which is something, I guess. And I don't like acknowledging their existence, even with the friend I roleplayed with for that. I don't think either of us do. because it was pretty bad and really nonsensical. Like, Paul would have random shit happen to him. Like, at one point he completely lost his personality that he did have, which was really dumb, because that took any appeal of his character away immediately, because he literally didn't have a personality aside from having a pet bird that he saved randomly and treated and then just had sitting on his head, and that was like his character trait, and that was about it. And also he couldn't die, which is like, don't do that unless it's like you've got a good reason. Just like stay away from it in general, because there's so many problems that can come about from that trope. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, you have to be really good at writing it for it to actually be a good trope to use, you know? So I don't touch that anymore. Or I very rarely do, at least. But yeah, in comparison, one of my more recently created characters, who is the same character in the Speedpaint that's playing behind this, his name is Fanshin. He's ancient Chinese. He's from the Zhao dynasty, so he's over 3,000 years old now. And he is kind of similar in some ways to the two earlier characters. Like, you could call him edgy, because he kind of is, but there's a lot more to him than any character I could have created when I first started creating characters. He's a teacher at a school in a story of one of my friends, and he's incredibly chaotic. He is very, very manipulative, and he has the power to manipulate people into doing whatever he says by striking total fear into them, to the point where they think that they will die if they don't do what he tells them to. And so he has an incredibly overpowering energy. Like, I roleplayed with him very briefly, and even in that, all of us were just kind of losing it, because he was so overwhelming for other characters to be around, or even just to read anything he said or anything I typed about him, because he just had such an intense energy. He has like final boss sort of energy. So he has a tendency to sneakily threaten people without directly doing it, which is one of the things that sort of contributes to his entire aura. And yeah, so like, I've had times where I've read out stuff about him and I've had friends just completely like go silent because they're sort of not even sure how to react to him at all, just because he's so overpowering, and that's like his defining trait. And there's a lot to his character. Like, he died because he manipulated politics, and he was poisoned because of it. He was literally assassinated for being annoying, which is a mood. But yeah, so he is very, very chaotic, and he's similar to some of my old style characters, but a lot more developed. I'm not talking with a script again, because again, I'm too lazy to write a script, which is why I'm blanking on a lot of stuff about him. But yeah, like, even when I'm drawing him, he always has a very, very smug expression, because he is very, very smug. He knows that people are scared of him, and he uses it to his advantage. He probably counts as a psychopath, honestly, which is a running trend of my characters. Not with all of them, but a lot of them. A lot of my antagonistic ones definitely do have that sort of trait. And even some of my non-antagonistic ones have that sort of trait, just because I enjoy creating characters like that. On the other hand, I also have a lot of characters that aren't like that. Like, in the Star Trial, a lot of the group of main characters have issues with self-worth. So, for instance, Evelyn was bullied when she was younger because she is a half-blood. She is half elf and half witch. And elves reject witches. They are not very happy with them. They don't like them, and so because she had a lot of traits from witches, which are visible traits in my universe, they're an entire species, she got a lot of shit from even adults when she was a kid. And the one exception to that was another character called Lady Dahi, who at the time was a child. They both were. They were about the same age. And Lady Dahi is essentially the princess of the elves, at least the specific tribe of them. And so Lady Dahi didn't exactly understand the specifics of what was happening, but she didn't stand up for it. Because she was the heir to the elves, she had a lot of power even as a child, and people would generally listen to her. So at one point, she stopped some kids and probably also some adults from essentially beating up Evelyn just for being what she was born as. As a result, Lady Dahi decided to make Evelyn into a housemaid of sorts, and essentially into a servant, but that was more of a cover title. So they ended up growing up together and becoming very, very close. And when they grew older, they fell in love. Even after that, because Evelyn was lacking in so much love over her life, she has a lot of self-worth issues, even with Dahi. Like, she has a bit of a complex about their relationship because she doesn't think she's worthy of Dahi and Dahi loving her. So she ended up fighting with Dahi over it because she just couldn't accept that she was worth it. Which is part of how she ended up joining the main group. I'm not going to get too into that. But yeah, so a lot of my more recent characters I've created have a lot more to them. There's a lot more character in them. They all have more distinct personalities and they develop more. Especially in the Star Trial, which is one of my most recent stories, which, even though I haven't written the plot yet, I've already got so many themes going on with all the main characters, and I'm super excited to get more into them and draw more with them and create whatever I want to create with it, because I think there's quite a lot going on there. I think I've gotten a lot better at handling issues as well, which is good. Like mental health, when I was younger, I wouldn't really take it all that seriously, even though it did impact me. I didn't fully understand other issues and other mental illnesses that I didn't have, so I would just throw them in and not really understand what I was doing. Whereas nowadays, I do so much research to make sure I'm getting it right. Like with my character Khalid, who I think I'm going to make a video all about because he's the main character of the Star Trial, but he's got a lot of shit going on. Like, I have fun with calling him. Sometimes I poke fun at him. Sometimes I call him the anxiety vampire just for short, but there's so much more to him that I haven't even gone into on any of my accounts yet. So much with his interpersonal relationships that I want to develop even further than they already are. So hopefully at some point I'll be making a video on that. I think Khalid deserves a video all of his own. But yeah, if you want more videos on my characters, like getting fully into their entire backstories and their character development and such, as far as I can without spoiling the stories they're for, just comment down and comment a character you want to hear more about, because if you look on my Instagram, I have so many that I could get into, or some that I probably couldn't, just because they're very, very spoilery, but most of them I can. I think all of them I probably could find a way to talk about without spoiling anything, so yeah, this has been something, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave a comment about anything, really, and give it a like, whatever, usual YouTube stuff, subscribe, I don't know how often I'm going to be making these videos, hopefully more often than I have been, I hope, because I was very, very infrequent about it, so yeah, I'll see you guys later.